Samantha Egglestaff-Thomas vowed after the floods that caused so much damage and misery in Llanrwst earlier this year that she'd not stand by and watch it happen again. She's a founder member of the town's Flood Action group, and she's confident that although they can't stop flooding, they can provide a quick response to those in urgent need.
Storm Keira and the way it had an impact on our community was absolutely devastating. There were people just getting flushed out of their homes. One of the lessons to take forward in this pandemic flooded world is that for communities to cope, they need to be resilient.
From providing flood wardens to sandbags, the Action Group has also been encouraged by the money being invested in the engineering of making sure water flooding down from the hills in heavy rain ends up in the river and not in people's homes. Another member of the Action Group said being prepared for the worst is key.
Sometimes there's not a lot you can do about the floods. It's going to happen anyway, but the fact that there's something being done to organise for when it happens and it's in place and people have a point of contact to come for support and things like that, I think is really important.
This is only going to be an issue that's going to increase. So if we can empower communities, if we can get together, have a flooding conference in Wales, I'm sure that we can move forward and make progress.
This is a community well aware of the way the weather is changing, but they've made huge strides in being prepared. Ian Lang, ITV News, Llanrwst.
My name's Samantha Egglestaff-Thomas and I'm the chair of Llanrwst Flood Action group.
Can you just take us through the work that's been done here to get us ready for what you describe as the storm season?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's been a really hard year, so I'm really proud of the community here in Llanrwst and the surrounding areas, Trefrw, Dolgarrog, Main Abbey, all the way down to Betws-y-Coed. Obviously we were hit in March with Storm Keira and Storm Dennis, and we were struggling to cope with that. We had a local council that was unwilling to provide some of the residents with sandbags so they could protect themselves and their family. So we were having to sort of scrabble around trying to find resources to help everybody. And we also had people in really vulnerable situations getting flooded out of their homes with nowhere to go. So that was a shocker. And then on the back of that, we then had COVID, which has hit towards the end of March and everybody on lockdown. So our community's been struck right at the heart there, and what we've had a bit of a hiatus, and we've been struggling to get in touch with regular different groups that can help, but what we've done is we've not rested on our laurels and we've been putting work in place in the background. So we've founded our group, which has over 1,500 members. We've had help from Conwy Voluntary Services that has given us helped us with a constitution. We've had help from CL Jones, NatWest Community Banking, JS Recovery, all the different donees from around our community that's put money in to raise funds, so we've got our own provisions if floods do hit again. We're really thankful for the money and the extra funds that have come centrally from Welsh Government, and we've seen a lot of work taking place on the culverts, on the tertiary streams, improving the floodgates, and we've seen a lot of the workers from Conwy Borough Council, down in the drains, clearing all the different culverts, working really hard, and we've seen extensive works. What we've still not had is a commitment from the local council to provide sandbags for our residents that are perpetually at risk and having flooding come into the homes. So we've put a bank of sand and bags available in 2 spots in Llanrwst, which is there just for that extra security. So now that we're getting to the flood season and river levels are high and they're quite prolonged and sustained, we can give the people in our community, that little bit of leeway and that security in case something bad happens.
And it's the thing about having the organisation. What else do you do? I mean, you do other things. Let's talk about the flood wardens. And you're always keeping an eye out so people are prepared. I know the NRW do it, but you're that extra layer of security.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, it's really important that all the different members of the community come together. So we've got several groups. We've got Firstly, we've got the chair, we've got the secretary, we've got our fundraising officers that have been helping raise money. We've also got the flood wardens. We've got 12 different people that have volunteered to help and just keep an eye on the rivers and send messages to us centrally so that we can get provisions in place ready. We've got JS Recovery in the top of Llanrwst there that are distribution. They've had sand delivered there. They've got trucks ready to help vulnerable people and deliver. So we're all working together. So although COVID and the floods have really hit at the heart of our community, what's great about our community is with all our strong hearts working together. So it's just fabulous. I mean, last night I had 2 phone calls from members of the community. One person has just moved into the community offering to help pack the bags if the need arises.
Are people, I mean, after last year, are people nervous? They look at this weather now, and there's more weather coming tomorrow. How people, does it make them feel more nervous, or how do people feel about it?
That's why it's really important that we've put these measures in place in certain areas in Llanrwst just to make people feel a bit better. I think, you know, this situation with flooding is an age-old situation in the Conwy Valley, isn't it? It's gone on for centuries. And when you look at other countries and how they deal with flooding and water management, there needs to be much more innovative, creative approaches. You know, we're moving to a situation where we need to work more with the environment. We've got climate change issues going on, and there's an opportunity there to really think about engineering and creating new jobs for the future and looking at ways that we can work with our planet and with the environment that we have here. Yeah, people are nervous, but you know, I think the extra work that's been put in place in the different areas in Llanrwst are flood wardens that are keeping an eye on the situation. All the different members of the community have really pulled together, and that's fabulous. And I'm sure that when we work together with the different organisations, we can weather the storm, as they say.
I mean, you were determined, weren't you? That, you know, you talked about, you know, you said you made a sort of promise to yourself, didn't you? But it wasn't going to happen again. You wouldn't let it happen again.
I think Storm Keira and the way it had an impact on our community was absolutely devastating. There were people just getting flushed out of their homes. To see the devastation of the floods coming from above Llanrwst rather than the usual river, and just this deluge that washed right through the guide hut. If there'd been young children sleeping in that guide hut, because that often happens, I dread to think what would happen. We've had offers from Mountain Rescue and from River and Sea Sense organisation to come to Llanrwst to help train the locals in how we should walk around our community in a safe way in these dangerous waters. Obviously, COVID has put a stop on those kind of events. So we've been dealing with things and trying to put measures in place from a distanced way online. It's been difficult, but we've had lots of different organisations. And can I just say thank you to the workers of Conwy Borough Council who have donated money out of their GMB union funds towards our group. So we've had quite a substantial check off all the lads that are working on the developments as well, so that's great.
It's encouraging. Do you think it's, you know, in many ways, you're in terms of preparedness, you've never been as prepared, because you're working as a community. You talk about that, but you feel that we're ready for it now?
I think one of the lessons to take forward in this pandemic flooded world is that for communities to cope, they need to be resilient. And there is a very strong heart here in Conwy Valley. We've shown utmost resilience and determination, and I know that we'll get through, and with the support of the Welsh Government and all the money that they've put into the different tributaries and secondary streams and the floodgates, and with our community group working together with the sandbags ready, I'm sure we'll make it through.
Is it something you worry about as a person?
I think there's always a worry that there may be an escalation to the way that it was in the spring. But as I say, if we all just work together, and it's just so wonderful to see the way everybody's been supporting each other. I've had messages from flood action groups in Yorkshire, in the Lake District, in South Wales, offering support. We've had national agencies, and we've had the Hummingbirds Group organisation, which has organised national support of donations and household goods, food.
It's become quite a big organisation then in a matter of 12 months, or less than 12 months.
We're still a community group. We're not a charity yet. We haven't raised enough funds to get to that stage. We're still getting support with community bank with NatWest and so on. But when you look at everybody that's been involved, you know, it's grown quite massively. So we've been working with the family centre, with sheltered accommodation, soup kitchens when people were pushed out of their homes.
So the next time there is a flood, because there will be a flood, and hopefully if there is a bad flood, what can people expect then?
I believe and I hope from the different meetings that we have that there'll be more combined working between the different agencies, so that the people that may be struggling in their homes, there's people there to support them, that there's more teamwork and collaboration. I mean, we've shown in our flood action group here that people can work together. It just takes strong communication and advanced planning and looking at the range of needs for a lot of different people.
Yeah. Did you hear the story that we did about the NRW and their own failings because they didn't issue flood warnings, or the flood warnings were late? So basically they got overwhelmed. You know, there were problems everywhere.
I think
it's this climate change thing. The climate's changing that rapidly. You can never know what's going to happen.
we are in a situation in Wales and in Britain and across the world where our communities and people are fighting against the impacts of climate change. As long as we have a world which exploits all the different resources, we're going to see the impacts of that. If not, the report that you're commenting on, I've not been able to say in advance. However, we have borne the brunt of lots of cuts over the years. I can say that National Resources Wales have been very supportive of our group. They've created a network between us where they give us advance warnings of river levels and alerts so that we've got enough time to put provisions in place. And that's what we did earlier on this week, because we had notice that there was going to be a sustained river level increase of about 5 days. So we just wanted to make sure the measures were there for people so they don't have to worry, and we have people ready to go.
Ian Roberts.
Ian Roberts?
Yep.
You're also a member of the Flood Action group?
Yep.
Why is this group so important to you, and why have you joined it?
Well, I think, you know, as we're a small town, and we saw in the last floods that everyone rallied together and helped out, especially, you know, reacting to the floods and what happened. There were lots of people helping in Station Road and stuff. It was amazing. There's not really anything in place that's preparing for it, you know. So I thought that was a really important thing to be part of, that, you know, the preparing for it to happen rather than reacting to it as a community.
Do you feel, I mean, safe is not the right word, do you feel reassured now that
Yeah.
do you think people feel more reassured that there's eyes and ears in the community looking out for potential problems?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a comfort to people that were affected, that people are rallying around and helping, and you know there's something a bit solid in place now, you know, where people can donate to and stuff, and we're looking at getting welfare packages up. But sometimes there's not a lot you can do about the floods. It's going to happen anyway. But the fact that there's something being done to organise for when it happens, and it's in place, and people have a point of contact to come for support and things like that, I think is really important. Yeah.
I think you're showing the way for Wales. I think, you know, I don't think other areas necessarily in Wales have groups like this. It's a template for other down the valleys. I
think Llanrwst is pretty frequently flooding, so I think it was a matter of time for it to happen. Like I said, the community always comes together anyway. But yeah, we're really glad. I'm glad and really proud to be part of the group and part of the community that we're in, and all the people in the town that come together to help.